And we're live. We are live. We are live. It's day one and nothing has changed. England's batting is rubbish. Absolute trash. And to be honest with you, this could be over in 2 days as well. But this time, you can't talk about the pitch because the pitch seems to be okay, to be honest with you. I don't really have any qualms about the pitch whatsoever. I think the pitch seems all right. I wouldn't say it's a completely flat deck, but it's not, it's not spinners or bowlers paradise either. I don't think. I don't think it's. This definitely has the ability to be, a match that goes longer than 2 days. That's for sure. It could potentially go. I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 days. And let's have a look. What's going on here? 191 for 9. God, it's just absolutely crazy at the moment. They're just getting absolutely skittled. Absolutely skittled. Some of the shots have just been absolutely atrocious. Really, really, really poor. And apart from that, though, India, you have to give them a lot of credit. They bowled really, really well. It's 191 for 9 off 72 overs. Let me just update the scorecard. Dan Lawrence looked really good whilst he was in and then just played an absolutely shocking shot. He thought he was playing T20 cricket and just ran down the ground and tried to spank the spinner over his head, which is like, that's not the right thing to do when you're on 46. Just get to your 50. It's a test match. I feel like he thought, you know what, I've worked hard for my runs here. And he'd hit a couple down the ground. And he thought, oh, that's all right. That'll be easy. I'll just come to the track again and just smash him over his head. And it was easy as that. And it wasn't to be. Leach and Anderson in now, and I think it's just a matter of time. If England gets to 200, I think they'll be pretty lucky here to get to 200, but we'll see. They're 192 for 9. Akshar Patel has got an average of 10.5. He's got figures of 2 for 40, 5 for 60, 6 for 38, 5 for 32, and 4 for 61 so far. So he could be on track to get another 5 here. That's what he's hoping for. And as I said today, like, there's no excuse. And you can say, okay, he's a pretty good bowler because, yeah, it is turning, but not pretty good. He seems like a very, very good bowler. I think, especially considering you look at it and he just looks like this type of player that any condition, he's going to give it a right good go. That's a fantastic shot from James. Is it James Anderson? Has just reverse swept Akshar Patel. That is ridiculous. So he's playing against the spin, by the way, and he just reverse swept Akshar Patel for 4. Let's have a look here. Yeah, against the spin, obviously, because they're lefty to lefty, and reverse sweeps him. What a shot! Behind point. So kind of towards the third man region. Really, really good shot. It's an absolutely cracking shot, to be honest with you. Yeah, what a shot. Unbelievable stuff from James Anderson. And actually, that's how he got out. They're just showing in one of the previous matches to Washington Sundar, but they had a man there. That's why this time they didn't have a man really close in. But he executed it out to perfection, really. James Anderson. He's at 8 off 11 and Leach is 2 off 4. England 198 for 9. And yeah, exactly. Cash has said it here. Anderson with the reverse sweep, just unbelievable shot, to be honest with you. That was actually a great shot. And I said they'd be lucky to get to 200, but that definitely helps them. So I think probably get around 200, won't they? Let's see, can Anderson go on and get like imagine if he just comes out and just starts blasting it everywhere like Moeen Ali did in that innings in the first test match. That would be unbelievable. It'd be so good as well. And I'd just love to watch it just because it would be out of nowhere. What a surprise that would be if it happens. So let's have a look. And Ashwin coming in. Ooh, he's nicked that. He's nicked that big time. James Anderson gets away with it. Cash says, what's a good score on this pitch? That's a really good point, actually. Let's answer that, actually. I don't know. Definitely more than 200, though. I mean, I think you're looking at, I reckon 300 is a good score on this pitch. India will come out and they'll score 300 plus, I reckon. Okay, that's what's going to happen. They're going to come out and they're going to score 300 plus. And England are going to be thinking to themselves, what the heck have we been doing? Because there were so many positions where people were set or they looked like they were going to go on to get big scores. Stokes, Dan Lawrence, Pope as well got bit. He was unfortunate, to be fair. I mean, I've never seen someone get out like that. So, yeah, I don't think India will get anything below 300, but we'll see. We'll see. Cash has agreed. Yeah, 100% agreed. Ashwin, that's a really good delivery. Really, really good delivery. Bowling over the wicket to the left-hander. But now he's just giving him a full toss to look at. And Leach puts that away. And I tell you what, that is welcome runs. And they've gone past the 200 mark. It's 203 for 9. Cash says Stokes will have to bowl a bit. Question mark. So they've got Best, Leach, Anderson, and Dan Lawrence might bowl a bit of spin as well. I guess Joe Root might bowl a bit of spin. Yeah, Ben Stokes will have to. I'm surprised they left out Archer, to be honest with you. If I was them, would I play Anderson or Archer in Indian conditions, right? Because obviously in England, it's not really a question who you play. You're always going to play Anderson, but in these types of conditions, I'm just thinking Archer's got the X factor. I don't know about his elbow though, whether it's fully recovered, etc. So maybe that's why. But I think in general, yeah, we'll have a look. He's going to have to pick up the slack, isn't he? I think, unfortunately, and I say unfortunately, but he's just going to have to. And they don't have. So I was just thinking, they've got Bess and Leach will bowl the majority of the overs. That's what England are hoping for, especially if they're batting first as well. And then they've also got Stokes, who can come and bowl a few overs, and then they also have Lawrence. Dan Lawrence can bowl a bit of off spin. I guess Root will bowl a little bit, so they'll probably have like 4 spinners on the go, plus Anderson and Stokes. So that gives you 6. And yeah, so really good stuff from yeah. Anyways, Stokes will definitely get a bowl. I think he'll have to bowl some overs. Oh, that's just slashed away, but only a single. And yeah, good bowling there from Akshar Patel. Yeah, I agree with you, Cash. He says here, not so good for spinners. Siraj was useful on the pitch. Yeah, I think Anderson early doors will be okay with the new balls, but it's a red ball as well, so he'll be okay, I think, for maybe 5 overs. They give him a 5-over burst and just hope they can do something with the ball. I mean, there's even an argument to say you open with him and Stokes because they don't have anyone else. I'm surprised they didn't play someone like Wokes because he gives you balance in there. And they could have played Wokes instead of. They wanted to go so batsman heavy, which this would have been crazy, by the way. So batsman heavy, and also have someone who can do something with the new ball. They could have gone with Wokes instead of Anderson, right? And then Venny would have got even more annoyed because they might have had Folks at 9. But you could have had, you could have batted basically all the way down apart from Leach, which would have been carnage. Imagine if they'd picked Wokes instead of Anderson. Because realistically, right, they were probably thinking this pitch is going to be a spinner's paradise again. I think it is turning, but it's one of those things that when I look at it, I just think it is turning, but it's not as spinner friendly as Cash is saying, as I thought. But to be fair, Cash, as it's a good toss to win for your spinners because as the days go on, the pitch will get more and more spinner friendly. That's just naturally what will happen with a pitch like this. So, someone like Anderson will become so redundant in the second innings. So that's why. Cricket Frost 2.0 says thoughts on England finally getting 200. I thought, yeah, really good. I wasn't expecting them to get 200, to be honest with you, after Don Best fell. So I think they'll be pretty stoked, but they'll be pretty happy with the fact that they managed to get 200. They'll be looking at this stage when you're 9 down, you just set small targets. So it'll be like 210, 220. That's what they'll be looking at. Cassius has Wokes even got a game this tour? No, he hasn't. He hasn't played a single match so far. But he'll play the ODIs. He won't play the T20s. Oh no, he didn't. He's gone home, hasn't he? He's going to come back for the ODIs. And they've got the T20s first, and then Hold on. Do they have? Is the T20s first and then the ODIs? Let me have a look. Let me have a look. Is Stokes coming back? Because he plays in the ODIs. He doesn't play in the T20s, so that'll be a nightmare if he's just come and doesn't play a single game, which would be carnage. It really would. Let's have a look. Quick Frost 2.0 says cash. He hasn't. Quick Frost 2.0 says pretty stoked. Lol. Love it. Yeah. Darts. Oh mate, don't even get me started. Just disappointed. Disappointed. I just. Yeah, I'm really, really disappointed about it, to be honest with you. I talked to yeah, I'm quite lucky that I'm able to talk to one of the PSL players. Like, obviously, I made asked if I interviewed, so I messaged him to say to him, you know, what do you think? And he was just saying, like, he's really disappointed. Is that out? That's LBW, I think. Yeah, it's given out. They've got one review. They're going to review it. But it looks pretty plumb. And Ashwin gets Leach LBW, and the original decision is out, and they're going to review it. And Ashwin's like, nodding his head, like, nah, don't worry about it. Definitely out. But yeah, whilst we're waiting for that, I'm just so disappointing. Seriously, like today was going to be a cracking game as well. Lahore versus Islamabad. I was really, really looking forward to doing it. But just in general, forget about me and forget about everyone else. I think let's look at it from a Pakistan perspective and the PSL as well. Like it's really, really disappointing to potentially have the competition cancelled. I don't know what's going to happen. They're going to have. They said they'd give an update later today, so let's see what happens with it. But fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. You know, we can get some more cricket because, and they can conclude the tournament because we're not even halfway through. We're nearly halfway through it, so it'd be a shame to end it. And obviously, what happened in the last tournament is they had to delay it, and then like what was it? It was almost like 5-6 months, and then do it. So yeah, England all out for 205. Just reviewed it, and yeah, this is going to be pretty difficult now. I think for England from here. I think when I think about it, I just think England's batting has been so fragile throughout this whole tour. It's been so fragile. Apart from Root and obviously Stokes has got a couple of 50s, but in general, it's just not looked great, has it? It's been absolutely terrible. Cash says T20s first, I think. Yeah, so if it's T20s first, I think quicker for us, Usher's saying that as well. Then if it's T20s first, and I just think what will happen is he'll potentially come. He should come back for the ODIs then, and that's maybe why he's resting now. He's gone home because he'll open the bowling in the ODIs with Archer like he did in the World Cup, and he's so effective. I'm very surprised that he doesn't play any T20s. I guess maybe he doesn't have as much variation as some of the others and what have you, but I thought he'd be pretty good. And also he gives you strength from the batting as well. He can bat a little bit, so he can bat pretty well, to be fair. But yeah, so looking at that, so Crawley 9 off 30, Sibley 2 off 8. The openers once again, just yeah. Best at 20 off 67. He looked okay whilst he was in, but again, LBW trapped by Siraj. Same with Root. Stokes was 55 off 121. That was a very good knock until he got out. Pope unlucky, as I said, and then Dan Lawrence 46 off 74 looked really good, and then played this just ridiculous shot, just absolutely ridiculous shot, trying to come down the ground, didn't need to. Yeah, and a good little knock by Anderson at the end of 10 not out. So good little reverse sweep, good little not out to add to his average. So he'll be happy with that. James Anderson. So England all out for 205, and you can see there that's the difference. The partnerships, not a single 50-run partnership in the whole innings. 3 40s, 40-run partnerships, but nothing in the 50+ column, and that makes a big difference. Axel Patel with 4 wickets, just carrying on his fantastic form. To be honest with you, and Ashwin obviously 3 first. So clearly there's something in there for the spinners because Sundar got 2, and Siraj obviously got a wicket as well. So Yeah, I think as Cash said, there's something in there definitely for the seamers. There is a little bit in there, but I think it still will be very spin heavy, as you'd expect the subcontinent to be honest with you anyway. So that's no surprise. Usher says, "Quick, Aksa no FIFA. Yeah, he said it'll be hard now to get a time slot. I think he's talking about the PSL. Yeah, I think that's what Ahmed Asif was saying is that basically they need to do it now. Otherwise, the time slot off basically there's no time slot because you'd have um, the IPL and then you've got other stuff after that as well. So and the T20 World Cup's coming up, so it's just almost impossible, and people's schedules are packed. So I think what they have to do, and all the players who offered vaccinations beforehand is they got to wait maybe like a week and see what happens. Maybe I don't know. Maybe just say, look, everyone gets vaccinated, and if you're vaccinated, you can come and play. Or if you've done a test and it shows that you've already had it before, or I don't know. I'm no sports scientist, but I guess they'll give an update and we can see what happens. Cash says Curran gets in ahead of Wokes. I'm assuming you mean Sam Curran, not Tom Curran, who is not a bad player either. He just gets slapped about when he bowls. I tell you what, he's a good batsman though. He's a good Tom Curran, especially his average is like really. His average is something like 47 in ODIs, batting at like 9 or something. So a lot of not outs there, obviously, but still, he's played quite a few ODIs now. I would say in T20s he's way too erratic. He does get slapped about everywhere. So yeah, I think that's going to be an interesting one. And Cash says both get ahead of Wokes. Ooh, I don't know if Tom Curran would. To be fair, I think that's a pretty. I don't know. Is that bold? Is that a bold statement? Maybe. I think Tom Curran he's all right. He's okay. I wouldn't say he's anything special. If I'm being perfectly honest with you, his pace he's not express. He bowls like 80 83 miles per hour. He's got pretty good change ups, but with pace and cutters, etc. But he's not accurate enough for my liking. And batting wise, yeah, you can hit a long ball, but you don't have him in there for the batting. Sam Curran has shown that I think he's more capable with the bat than his brother. For England and and also in the IPL recently. And then bowling, though, there's something about him that I think he still needs to add in it, and his pace. Thing is, when you're that small, and it sounds really bad, when you're that small and you bowl that slowly, like the conditions have to be so helpful. Like you can't, or you have the new ball, and the issue is that he's never going to get the new ball when people like Anderson, Broad, Archer, and who else? So Wokes are around. Like he'll never get it. He got it once, I think, in Sri Lanka, because they didn't play anyone else. It was just him and I think Anderson. But realistically, he's never going to have the new ball. So he needs to add a couple of yards of pace. And at one point, it looked like he was starting to, and then he's kind of just not really pushed on. He's still pretty young, so he's got time to add a little bit of pace to his bowling. Of course, he wants to stick to the natural in swinger to the right hander that he has, that natural action. But he needs to add some pace, I think, to be really, really effective, especially in the shorter formats and the longer format, to be honest with you. But especially the shorter format, because he's been pretty good, I think, but he's got a lot of room to improve. So just having a look at the wickets here, Axar Patel, Dom Sibley, that's just really, really poor. Gap between bat and pad, and gets inside edges it onto his own stumps. Crawley, it's funny. I talked to Sean Dixon, who batted at Kent with Zach Crawley, and also Daniel Bell Drummond, who opens the batting with Crawley at Kent. And I think they both said, look, his game is to be aggressive, but I think you need calculated aggression, I'm assuming, and that's it. Siraj trapping Root LBW. That's just Root has in the past been susceptible to falling over his front pad, and he's done that here as well. Just having a look, Bairstow again, LBW, Siraj with 2. Again, let's have a look. Yeah, just falling a little bit over his front pad, his head. Johnny Bairstow, a bit unlucky. His umpire's cool, but it's just he needs to do better there. And Stokes to Sundar, not even to Ashwin. LBW, let's have a look. He's not really done anything. It's just straightened a little bit, and he's played for the spin, but just hasn't read it. And that one's a bizarre one. The Pope one is just bizarre, where he's inside edged it onto the back of his foot, and then it's looped off his thigh almost, and it's gone straight to Shubman Gill at short leg. That's very, very unfortunate. The Folkes one was a bit of a soft dismissal as well. There's a lot of soft wickets here. There's not a lot of deliveries I can say, you know what, oh, that's a ripper, like, what a delivery. Like, most of these are just England getting themselves out or being really hesitant. Like, and if you're hesitant, it's not just about being hesitant in attack, it's about in defence, especially. If your defence is not rock solid, and I think it was actually Kevin Peterson, who I don't always agree with what he says. He's a fantastic player, and I think he seems like a pretty nice guy as well. But he's he's got very strong opinions, as a lot of players, ex-players do. And he was saying that unfortunately the England players, their defence is just not good enough. And if you look here, the issue is that the defence, it's not just about them being not good enough. Maybe they do have the ability, but the issue that they have is that they are not able to be very decisive in their decisions. So to be honest, like Stokes, he was pretty decisive. He played the wrong line there. So I'm kind of like, okay, fine. But then, some of the others, like if you look at Dom Sibley, he had a gap between his bat and pad, which means he's unsure. He's trying to cover the spin and not the spin as well. He's not really sure. So it's just a bizarre one. Cash says there, should they be playing false shots more like Rohit? Well, that's what Zach Crawley did, and Dan Lawrence. And they both got out. So I don't think they should. Rohit Sharma is a bit of a special case because he is extremely talented. So I don't think there's an issue there. I mean, Dan Lawrence is, he's nowhere near that level at the moment. And you look at Rohit Sharma. Rohit Sharma he does it in the ODIs and T20. Someone like Stokes is quite aggressive. So I'd say someone like Stokes can get away with doing it. And he's got the ability. We've seen a lot of the fantastic innings he's done in the past. He's done it through being aggressive. But yeah, it's just a cracker, really, in terms of. We'll have a look, actually. Let's have a look, because it's so funny. Who is it? Someone says a lot of people say that you can only judge a pitch after both teams have batted it, right? Or how to play on it anyway. So let's see, because Rohit Sharma's kind of come out to bat now with Shubman Gill. They're both pretty aggressive. Rohit Sharma especially he's going to go after anything short. He'll go to pull or hook. Like that's just the way he plays. So that will be interesting to see. Whether it comes off or not, and then I guess you can make a judgment. But I don't think it should be playing false shots. I think it's more a case of England. They've tried to play a brand of proactive cricket under, it was Trevor Bayliss, right? Like super aggressive test brand of cricket, and they've kind of gone into this more defensive minded way of playing cricket under Silverwood. And that's fine, but I feel like they haven't quite transitioned, and they're kind of like in between. They're kind of in between a lot of the batsmen. Like Stokes kind of wants to play like how Trevor Bayliss was telling him to play. You can tell, right? But then he's almost thinking, "Oh no, I need to do this." So they need to find the balance. I think they probably need to find somewhere in between Trevor Bayliss and Silverwood, but really be comfortable with it. Because I think at the moment they're not. I think a lot of players are trying to play in different ways, and as a batsman, you know which shots are your strengths, and that's what you play to. Every player is different. Zach Crawley's strength is to go down the ground, but then you need to pick and choose the moments correctly. And when he's in single digits, that's not the right time to do it. It doesn't matter. It's never the right time to do it, I don't think. Once you get past your 10 plus or 15 plus, as Anderson runs in here to Shubman Gill, good delivery. You can see he's already got shape away from the right-hander there. It's a very full delivery, and that looks pretty good. His pace is up a little bit as well into the mid 130s as well. James Anderson, and the test stats. I mean, don't really even need to go into it, do we? Average of 26, quality, and don't need to talk about how many wickets he's got either. Everyone knows, unbelievable player. Shubman Gill still hasn't got a sponsor. Reminds me of Fahim Ashraf, doesn't have a sponsor either. I'm sure both players will get a sponsor at some point. They're both very good players. But yeah, I just think you need to play to your game. And that's Rohit Sharma's very comfortable in his game. He's a player that, if you look at him, he'll get out, and sometimes you just think, what is he doing? Like he's just pulled that straight to the fielder, and he'll just come out and say, "No, it's fine. That's why I play." And the thing is, you need that confidence in your own ability, but also in your own game to say, actually, this is the way I play. If I get out playing the way I play, then okay, that happens. Yeah, of course, there are adjustments that need to be made, and like you can't just be reckless with the way you play, like all the time. But as in, if you have a way of playing as a batsman, just stick to it, I think, or as a unit. And Cash says, Shaman Gill needs some runs. Yeah, I think he does 100%. He hasn't been particularly good. He was very good in the Australian. That's out. That's an early wicket. I don't know if that looks like it could be a little bit high. Let's have a look there. Shaman Gill, they've reviewed it. So the original decision is trapped LBW by James Anderson. That looks very close. I reckon it's going to be umpire's call. Let's have a look. That's a close one, though. A very, very close one. Let's see what happens. Oh, it's hitting on the knee roll, actually. No, that'll be out. That's not going to be too high. I don't think it's going down leg side either. It was shaping. Oh, where is it? Let's have a look. No, I reckon it's clipping leg stump. Let's have a look. Shubman Gill, Cash they need some runs. It looks like he's going to be out for a duck here. Do they go back to Prithvi Shaw or Mayank Agarwal? I mean, this is a serious question just because Shubman Gill had a fantastic tour in Australia, but India have been known to be pretty. Oh, umpire's call, yeah. Umpire's call is just. So height wise, it's okay, but it's just clipping that leg stump. So he's gone. And India will be thinking, what the hell? We've got home advantage. And normally the home umpires are pretty, not biased, but there's a slight favoritism towards the home nation at the moment because you don't have neutral umpires coming in. And so naturally, subconsciously, they don't even mean to do it, but they will subconsciously think, oh, okay, I don't think that's out. But here, he's given it. And Shubman Gill walks for naught for another duck. And I tell you what, I don't know. He's very young. He's a fantastically talented player. His confidence is clearly not there though at the moment, so it's going to be damn tough for him to come back in the next series that India got, which I don't know what series they have. And Cash says KL Rahul is in the wings too, very competitive. Yeah, although I think KL Rahul, I don't think, and I could be wrong. I don't think he'd open the batting in Test matches. I know he opens in T20s, but he doesn't even open in ODIs. I don't think. I think he bats 4, doesn't he? Or 4? Yeah, I think 4 because Kohli bats 3, doesn't he? I think, or he bats middle order anyway in the ODIs, and in Test matches, I don't think he'd open either. I think they'd look to slot him in the middle order, and potentially when they go to countries that are not so spinner friendly, then maybe what they'd do is they'd make sure that. Oh, hold on. What's going on here? Pujara's in. Pujara and Roshan both on not. Then, yeah, maybe you'd have KL Rahul come in instead of someone like Vihari, who was playing in the middle order when he had more seamer-friendly conditions. But we'll see. We'll see. It'll be interesting. They've got very good strength and depth, India, as you said, Cash. So the issue that you have with having so many options is that you also don't want to chop and change so often because then it's hard for people to get into form, get into a rhythm. Shubman Gill had a very good series against Australia, and he's come in here against England and he hasn't really performed at all. They'll give him another series at least, I would assume, and then you can't. I just think you can't be too cutthroat. Especially if both openers are not performing, then you can say fine. Rohit Sharma's been performing, so and he's experienced, so you can just say, well, both of them can stick in. And if Shubman Gill doesn't play well for another series, then you got to say, okay, look, maybe go back, work on your game. This is what needs to be worked on. Thing is, as well, he was pretty raw, and in Australia they wouldn't have seen any footage on him. And just like bowlers, like we said about people like Jonathan Mendes back in the day, same with batsmen. Once you see footage of batsmen, then you kind of know what they're about, right? You know what they're about, and you just say, well, okay, um, this is their weakness, and you can have a look at their technique and really drill into it. Quick Ross 2.0 says, by the way, PSL YouTube channel are having a press conference right now. Wow, okay. I will keep my eyes peeled for that after this. India is 0 for 1 off 1 overs. 1 over even, not 1 overs, only 1 a over, a singular over. Let's see how this goes, man. Let's see how this goes. Cash says they don't need to be cutthroat when you're winning. Shaw was dropped in Australia when India were up against it. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a very good point. When you're winning, you don't need to drop anyone. And I think Shubman Gill has been fortunate in a sense that they're winning now because they can stick with him. Otherwise, sometimes you think, oh, we need a quick fix here. There's a really tough balance that you need to find between making sure you have a team that wins your games, but also a team that you can have long term, like a team that you can say actually, especially with openers, because openers you play in all conditions. It's not like bowlers or middle order batsmen where you can sometimes chop and change just depending on the conditions. You add in an extra seamer or an extra spinner or an all rounder. Depending. Like opening batsmen, they're going to bat in all conditions, so you've got to be really careful to pick the correct combination that you think can really last the test of time. That's see, I was right. Stokes is opening the bowling. I was right. Stokes is opening with Anderson here. That's a full toss first up at 128 kilometers per hour. Come on, Stokes, get your pace up. That's his looseness, so I'll give it to him. But he's got to be a lot better than that. Having a look at Rohit Sharma's stats, average of 46, 147, and 38 matches played. So it's still not a veteran of in the Test arena. Stokes running in here, and a big away swing with the new ball. We're very full though. Once again, his pace has gone up a little bit to 133. So I'm not sure about his haircut. Not a fan of the slick back. He needs to go back to his spiky or shorter hair, I think. Having a look at his Test career, average of 31. It's pretty good for an all-rounder. It's pretty good. Stokes running in here. They need a wicket. If they can get another wicket, imagine, for no run. He needs to put pressure on Rohit Sharma, nothing short. Or if he is going to bowl him one short, it's going to be really well directed and it's going to be quick. He can't just go in saying, I'm just going to give you a short delivery, because I think it might have the element of surprise. Like, you've got to really bang it in to Rohit Sharma, and it's going to be well directed, like angling into him. Cash says, I think, Rohit's averages at home is much better than away. Yeah, Rohit Sharma's average at home, he's just... And look, I mean, as Stokes runs in, fantastic shot from Rohit Sharma. A little bit uppish. It's a little bit of an outside edge, so I don't think he's quite meant to hit it that much behind square, or behind point even, sorry. That backward of point. But it doesn't matter. It's a full flash of the bat. Let's have a look. Yeah, slight outside edge. Tries to punch it. It's almost like a back foot square drive, but it gets a little bit of an outside edge, and it runs just past the man at gully for 4 runs. Yeah, Rohit Sharma at home, but to be honest, I think naturally you're going to have people like Rohit Sharma, for example. His average at home, I think Cash is saying here, is 83. So naturally his average is going to be higher because the way he plays is very aggressive. So on flatter tracks like you have in India compared to, I don't know, say England, like, he will perform better, which makes sense, right? I think. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how he does away from home for the rest of the year. That's what I'm really interested to know, because him getting runs at home is no surprise to me. Of course, it's still very impressive. Like, you can't take it away from him. As they end the over, Stokes that's a pretty good first over from Stokes. Of course, 4 from it, but 4 from it after an outside edge is not a massive issue. 4 for 1 of 2 overs. Yeah, I think in Australia it was okay. But it's interesting. I want to see how he does in England. Rohit Sharma. He's a lot more mature than like Rohit Kohli. Rohit Kohli. That's Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli combined. That's like he'll do a lot better potentially than Virat Kohli did initially when Virat Kohli came to the UK, which was in like 2014, I think it was, because he was very inexperienced, and Rohit Sharma's very experienced nowadays. In all formats, not as much in Test cricket as I said, only 38 matches played, but in the shorter formats he is, so he'll kind of know what to expect, and he should be able to adjust quite quickly to the conditions, considering his age and experience now. Um, Obviously, Kohli adjusted the second time that India toured England and scored a lot of runs, so that will be interesting to see how he does in England. I think against the likes of your James Andersons, your Stuart Broads, your Jofra Archers, that will be interesting. This is interesting. So Gill is very susceptible to the inducker. They're just showing his dismissals, and every single dismissal so far, well, 3 dismissals of his have been induckers from James Anderson. So the in swinger, obviously, set him up for that as well. A couple of away swingers, and then got with the in swinger. James Anderson is a very, very intelligent bowler. As you can probably imagine, considering the amount of wickets he's got, you don't get that amount of wickets without being really on the ball with your tactics and setting up a batsman and knowing exactly what you need to do. So thus they would sit down, I think, with the bowlers beforehand and just say, this is the batsman's weaknesses. This is the type of game plan to put in place. And I guess with people like Anderson, though they're so experienced, you don't even need to say to them like you should do X, Y, and Z. They probably just say this is his weakness, and Anderson will say, okay, how can I set him up to really utilize that weakness? That's what he'll be thinking. 4 for 1 here. Anderson with 4 dots in a row, and Virat Kohli sitting, waiting to come in and have a bat. Oh, he's had a haircut. I think he has had a haircut. Got his little fade with his hair as well. He's a character, isn't he, Virat Kohli? He really is. Pujara, less so of a character. Very quiet. Rohit Sharma's a bit of a character as well, of course. Good, very solid from Pujara there for defensive. Cash says, can already sense Indian openers are going to struggle in England. We'll see, I guess. That's going to be the real test. In England, the biggest test for any batsman in England is opening in England. As I talked to even the county players here, right, who play year in, year out, they say like it's the hardest thing to do in the UK is to be an opener. To see out the new ball, the red ball, like it's going to be so hard. Cash has at least for Shubman Gillen or Privty Shaw. I guess Mayank Agarwal as well. Does he have a chance? Maybe, I don't know. And Rohit Sharma will have to battle. Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's not going to be. I mean, he's not going to be getting a lot of short stuff, and if he does from Jofra Archer, it will be like, yeah, and that's not going to be the issue. It's going to be the early doors, and it'll be interesting to see. I guess they'd open up with Anderson and Archer, or Broad and Archer, because they'll rotate Broad and Anderson. Interesting to see if they play both of them. They probably don't need to because they've got Wokes there as well. So, and they've got Wood. Probably don't need to play both of them. But yeah, 4 for 1 off 3 overs. But I agree, it's going to be a test for sure. Stokes coming on for his second over. I wonder whether he relishes having the new ball. He must do, because naturally he swings the ball away from the right-hander, Stokes. He's got really nice swing away from the right-hander, does Ben Stokes, but obviously he doesn't normally open the bowling at all, and given the selection, he's had to, because they've gone with a lot of spinners and batting depth. Sardak Garg says, hello, Sardak, thank you very much for joining. Guys in the chat as well, please do remember to like this video, and I think everyone subscribes, but I'll just say it anyway, please subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you very much. 4 for 1 here off 3.1 overs, and it's going to be difficult, man. And Subtark says, how are you? I'm really good, man. How are you? I'm happy with 205. I'm not really, well, I guess I am supporting him, because I predicted that England would win. Well, sorry, not England would win. I predicted England would draw the series 2-2 before the series started, so I kind of am rooting for them a little bit. 205 is not enough. I think India will get 300 plus, if I'm being honest with you. That's what I can see happening, unless England can pick up another 2 quick wickets here. Then if they do, then we're in for a game. But otherwise, it's going to be really tough. That's not a good start by England. I mean, you want to be batting the whole day at least, which they have not done. And if you bat the whole day, then you're going to be getting, near the 300 mark, and then you can push on from there and potentially bat. You want to be batting a day and a half really for the first innings, because naturally in the second innings, the ball's going to turn more. It's turning a little bit now, but it'll be turning a lot more, and it'll be a lot harder to get a run. So I think England will be disappointed after winning the toss as well, that they haven't really utilised. And they won the toss quite a few times in this series, and each time they just haven't quite, well, apart from the first test match, which they won, the other 2 test matches, they haven't made the most out of it whatsoever. They really haven't. Oh, look at these graphics with a trophy. Bizarre. Why are they zooming in? It's almost like a love affair. They're like zooming into it, and there's all these graphics, like bizarre, really. Fair enough. Nice and shiny trophy. I like it. All straight onto the pads. Does Ben Stokes, gets away with it. Rohit Sharma hits it straight to mid wicket. So Dark says, I'm surprised to see Lawrence play so well. So Dark, to be fair, Dan Lawrence is a very talented player, but the reason why he didn't play well previously, and this does make a difference, I'll stick to this, is that batting at 3 is not natural for him. He scored runs in Sri Lanka when he was batting at 5. Or was it 5? No, 6, I think it was. So he needs to be, I would say, he's very young. And if you look at all the best batsmen in the world, well, not all the best batsmen, all the best batsmen ever, most of them, they all started off at least 1 or 2 positions below where they ended up. Michael Clarke was at like 6, if you remember, for Australia in the Ashes and stuff, because they had such good batsmen. You had people like Tendulkar, he started opening, didn't he, in ODIs, but he never used to open, I don't think, at the start. You had people like Brian Lara used to bat at 5, I think, at the start of his career. Then obviously he went up to 4 and potentially sometimes a 3. I mean, everyone. Sangakkara, he wasn't a 3, but then he went up to 3 eventually. So I just think naturally, as a player, when you're young like that, England have got to manage him well. So the best way to manage him is to clearly bat him lower down so there's less pressure. He shouldn't have pressure batting at 3. And the reason what they did is they just said, okay, we're going to try and fit you in at 3 because we don't really have a 3, because actually Dan Lawrence was supposed to be at 3. But, sorry, not Dan Lawrence, Zach Crawley was supposed to be at 3, but Burns isn't performing well, so we're going to put Zach Crawley to open, and then we'll just chuck you in there. Like, what? Yeah, see, yeah, so Tyke says, I agree. Even Rohit never used to open. He used to come down at 5, exactly, at number 5, because he's a super attacking player, right? So Dark, and even though he used to open in the ODIs and T20s, well, he does, it's a completely different ball game. And I think in the shorter formats in the UK for his county, which is Essex, he bats number 3, I think, but that's in the shorter format. So, and even if he bats at 3 for Essex anyway, it doesn't matter, which I don't think he does in the longer formats. But even if he did, you'd have to say like he needs to be. I mean, look, he needs to be protected, and the only way to protect him is to say, "We'll have you down here so you can express yourself, play your game, and then let's see how you can do and work your way up." They've done that with Ollie Pope. They'll need to do the same with Dan Lawrence, and they've done it with lots of players. I mean, all the best players. Ricky Ponting, he was never at 3 at the start of his career. He was never at 3. I think he was at like 4 or 5. And then eventually came up. So the list goes on. Steve Smith is another one. Virat Kohli, he wasn't at 3 or 4. He was at like 5 or 6, wasn't he? He was at 5, I think, when he first started. So yeah, as I said, like it happens because in the lower to middle order, or the middle order even, you have that's a really good point. Jimmy231 says, if you're batting Lawrence lower down, who would you go for at number 3 for the 5 tests this summer? That's a really good point. Firstly, I'd definitely not have Lawrence at 3 because he's not a number 3. And he hasn't scored any runs at 3. So I just think it's not even an option to put him at number 3. The only reason why people are even talking about having him at number 3 is because England just tried to fit him in at 3, but he's not a number 3. So for me, it's not even a question. Like they need to steer away from that completely. They just did it because Crawley was injured and Lawrence isn't a 3 anyway. Who would I have? That's such a difficult question. Bairstow is not a 3 in English conditions. It's just so clear. He will get cleaned up at 3. Then it's a question of Crawley is the big one, because if they have Crawley, if they have Crawley batting at 3 or opening, that is the biggest question, and then they can work around it. And the reason why I say that is because, okay, Crawley, if he's at 3, right, then you're thinking that's sorted. That's what they originally were going to have. They're going to have Burns and Sibley and then Crawley at 3. That's like England were thinking that's our top 3 sorted, and it seemed for a time it was sorted. Burns obviously didn't play the Sri Lanka series. Then he came in and played a couple of Test matches. Didn't perform particularly well for the 2 that he did play, or the 3 that he played even. And came into the series, didn't play particularly well. They dropped him, and for the last one, so he played 2, didn't he? Sorry, and then they dropped him for the 3rd. What do you do then? I mean, for me, I'm thinking for longevity, you probably say I'm going to stick with Burns and Sibley, but then Burns hasn't performed for quite a long time, so it's just a question of who they go with. I think Crawley is the missing piece in terms of they need to be very decisive and say, who are we going to open with? And if Crawley's in that, then you can say, okay, we need to look for a 3. But if they're going to say Crawley's long-term future we think is at 3, then they can't be moving him up and down, because it just completely ruins the lineup. And we've seen that, because now what's happened is they've moved Crawley up to open and they don't have anyone at 3. So they've just tried to stick someone in there because Root doesn't want to bat 3, which is fine. But it's just absolutely destroyed the lineup, really, because 3 is normally the best player. Like in the past, that's what you used to have. Ponting, Sangakkara, Hashimamla, like a lot of these players were the best players in their team at the time. Nowadays, you might not necessarily have that. Like you have people like Labuschagne or Pujara who are probably the second best player, or in the top 3 players. But then you have your best player coming in at 4, and that's what England have with Root. So it's a question of saying who we're going to have. I'm trying to think off the top of my head who you'd have at 3, and I don't really know, to be honest with you. That's the issue. But Dan Lawrence he's definitely not the answer, because it's like for me, it's like putting, I don't know, it's like putting Ben Folkes at 3. That's literally what it's like. It's not doable. Jimmy231 says Pope and Lawrence both would do best at 6 to develop, but difficult to play them both with Butler back. Yeah, I agree. And this goes so controversial, but I've always been of the thinking, and even despite some Butler's performances, which have been pretty good, as I said, like he's not been a bad performer in the Test arena, but I've always been of the thinking that Butler is not a very good Test player. He's a pretty good Test player, but he's not a very good Test player. I think people, in the ODIs and T20s, he's a phenomenal player. I don't see that in Test matches. I still don't see it. I actually would prefer to have Folkes in there, just because his keeping is, I think, 3 times better than Joss Butler's. And then you could have another batsman in there, because Folkes can bat lower. I mean, Folkes can bat as well. He's not a bad batsman. I don't know how well Folkes would do in English conditions. That's the other thing, because we know that he's good in spinning conditions to a degree, but is he good enough in English conditions? And then when you've had someone like Butler score the type of knock he did against Pakistan in the summer, there's no way he's not going to be dropped. So, yeah, I agree. But what they might do, Jimmy231, is they might have Pope and Lawrence, and they'll rotate them in the squad, depending on who's performing well. And, at some point, someone will get injured or someone will be out of form and they'll be able to slot in, but they'll be in and around the side, right? So, yeah, I agree with you. To develop 6 is perfect. And, obviously you can't have 2 people occupying one position. He says balance back. Oh, no, I don't know. They can't go backwards. I think they've got to look forwards. And balance is just, I don't know if he's the right type of player at 3. He's just, trudging is the word I like to use. And he was very good for a time, but that's another Yorkshire lad as well. They'd have so many Yorkshire players in there. I just don't know. I don't know if balance is good enough, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. And it's difficult because I don't know who they'd look to really. See, the thing is, number 3 is a difficult one, and I'm just thinking what they're going to do with Crawley, because if they find another opener, and I kind of don't want it to be a case that they look at the domestic scene or look at people in and around the squad and think, hold on, do we have a better opener or a better number 3 to come in, and they just that affects where Crawley bats, if that makes sense, because you've got to be. I feel like they need to be very, very solid and decisive and say this is where you're going to bat Crawley. This is your position. Obviously, if you as long as you keep performing, you'll stick to this position. I personally think Crawley might be better at 3, and then it opens up a slot, and you can potentially look to go to someone like Daniel Bell Drummond at Kent, who's actually his opening partner at Kent, but he bats. Canterbury's a minefield for a batsman opening the batting, and his figure pretty good. You could look at someone like him. You could look at someone, there's a load of openers potentially that you could look to, but I would love to see someone like Asib Hamid, but his form has been terrible for since scoring runs for England. Then he got injured, and since then his form has been shocking, and he just hasn't looked the same player, which is a real shame. So Dark says, and he was never dropped. Basically, he was omitted because of injury, and then he just never found his he never found his form once again. So Dark says, I feel Rory, Lawrence, and Pope are really talented. It's just this series has not been kind with the constant change of positions. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so I think 100%. It's just been. That's what I mean. I don't think changing positions really, really destroys your flow as a batsman, because you end up having different roles. Like Lawrence being at 3 is completely different to batting at 6. It's just a completely different game. And it's 7 for 1 off 6 overs. Let me just change the scoreboard. Thank you everyone as well for tuning in. Please remember to like this video. I think everyone subscribed to that in the chat, but if you haven't, please do. It really does help. Thank you very much. And Satar says, Pope has been unlucky. Even today with the kind of dismissal he had, so rare to get out in this manner. Yeah, I don't think I've never seen anyone get out like that. I think even son of Gavaskar said that. He's never seen anyone get out like that. It's just bizarre. The way to inside edge onto your back foot is a bizarre dismissal even. So yeah, very, very unlucky stuff. But you can say, I don't know, should he have inside edged it? If you want to be really harsh, which is very harsh, very, very harsh. India 7 for 1 off 6.1 overs, and Pujara and Rohit Sharma trying to weather the storm here, because England bowled very well early doors here. Jimmy Anderson especially, and trapping Shubman Gill LBW set him up so beautifully. A couple of outswingers, then set him up for the big in-swinger that he's been very susceptible to this whole series, to be honest with you. He's got out that way 3 times, has Shubman Gill, so not looking too fantastic for him. And 7 for 1. Really good stuff. Jimmy Anderson is just, his action is so nice to watch. It's great. Let's have a look what happens, eh? If England can pick up, they need another wicket, I'd say. Another big, big wicket. Jimmy Anderson just, comes in, and you see Rohit Sharma's off stump cartwheeling, and then that has England on their way, I think. And then you have Anderson with a new ball looking at Kohli, which is kind of what you want. So Tark says, do you think Anderson will reach the 700 wicket mark? Oh, that's a good point. I don't know. 100, he needs what? Not 100 more. How many is he on right now? Because he's obviously hit the 600 mark, but let's have a look. Let's quick info him whilst I'm watching. I've got this. I'm using my work setup, which actually is pretty good for this, to be honest with you, because I can have you guys on one screen, I have the game on another screen, I can check quick info on. No, I don't have 3 screens, but on half a screen. So let's have a look. He's got 611, so he needs 89 more wickets. I don't know if that's taking into account today's wicket. So let's say he needs 88 more. That's quite a lot. How many series would he need to play? I mean, the one thing that might help him, and Mr. Tark says here, he looks as good as he was when he started his career. The thing that may help him, to be honest, is the fact that England have got so many tests to play this year, but he will be rotated. I don't think he's going to play all of them. That's the other thing. So looking, this is interesting. Looking at his tests each year. So last year he got 23. 2019 he got 12. And he played 5 test matches in 2019, 6 in 2024 and 2021. So he's probably going to end up playing a lot more than 6 because they've got so many. They've got a total of 17. So I think after this one, they've got 13 left, I think is correct. So he'll probably play, let's say he plays half of those games. Plays half. So let's say he plays 7. Seven matches. How many wickets do we think he can get in each match? Let's say he gets 5 wickets over both innings in each of those matches, right? So 5 times, what are we talking about? 5 times 7, 35. He'd need to play at least. He needs to play 3 more years to Tark. I don't think he's going to do that. I could be wrong. He could play 3 more years, but I don't think he's going to get to 700. Unless he goes on some ridiculous run where he just gets like so if he gets 8 wickets per match, which is ridiculous, but that would be incredible. But that's 56 wickets, so he's kind of eking closer. Then he might just say, "Well, I'll play another year because I'm so close." But I think maybe he'll see how this year goes. I'm kind of wondering how long he's going to go on for as well, because as you said, he does almost look as good as he did when he first started potentially, and I think the fact that they rotate him really does help him. So I'm wondering whether rotating him means he'll have more years to play potentially. That's going to be an interesting one. The Leach is on now, though. They brought on Leach. Come on, then, Leach. Let's see what you can do. There was turn on the track for Axar Patel and Ravi Ashwin. So interesting to see what Jack Leach can do here. I reckon he can do a pretty good job. He needs to be really, really on the ball though, straight away with Pujara and just put him under pressure. He's only 2 off 18. Pujara, so it's early days still. Oh no, that's a rubbish start. This is what I mean. Like, I don't know. Everyone's like, oh, Jack Leach is really improving, and I'm like, yeah, he has improved. He has improved. He's actually improved quite a bit. But then he does this first ball of an over, and he bowls a half volley to Pujara, like drifting down leg side. Ridiculous. Muhammad Aviation, thank you very much, Muhammad, for joining. Please remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you, it really does help. Yes, I have heard. I'm really upset about it. I don't want to discuss it until I know the full facts. But yeah, I've heard the PSL is postponed. I think they're doing a conference right now, a press conference. So I don't know what they're saying. But I saw a picture of like Azam Khan and Dale Steyn getting vaccinated. So I'm kind of hoping that all the players are going to get vaccinated, and then they can carry it on maybe in like a week or so. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Some of the players like Dan Christian's gone home, I think, straight away. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm just hoping because things, if they don't manage to do it now, if they don't manage to start it again in like a week or so, then it's going to be really, really tough because what will happen is that we'll be able to find a time slot, which it'll be sad to say the least. But yeah, thanks everyone for joining. Please do remember to like this video and subscribe, as I said, if you haven't already. As I said, I think pretty much everyone has, so I really do appreciate it. Your support is greatly appreciated. And Leach to Pujara, strike rate of 71. Oh, it's not good, is it? This session we've had 27 overs, 70 runs for 6 wickets. Most of them obviously England's. And England very below par score. Pretty good start here though. That's better bowled by Jack Leach as well. He's trying to get it pitched on about middle leg, and straighten up and bring in bat pad and also LBW into the equation, because Pujaras can be susceptible to that, which makes sense. Which makes a lot of sense. Just 9 for 1 off 7.4 overs. And Jack Leach coming in, that's well bowled as well. On about a middle stump line, you can see he's getting grip and turn. It's day one. He's getting grip and turn. It's not as much as the last Test match. And as I said, I think it looks pretty decent. It's not like unbelievably, crazy amount of turn that he's getting. It's quite a bit, but it's not the type of turn that I think, oh, this pitch has been underprepared. No, it looks all right. And so Tark says, I think Jack Leach has been really important. That's a really good shot from Pujara. We'll have a look at the replay there. He says, I think Jack Leach has been really important in this series. He has played all 4 matches and he has improved as a player. 100% agree, Dark. I think he has. His mentality's improved a lot, because mentally, I don't think he's the strongest player, if I'm being honest. He has had issues in the past as well, which is understandable. Everyone has different issues as well. And I think, he suffers from Crohn's disease as well. So, he's definitely an amazing story, especially, and he's really, really improved. And I think as a cricketer, he has definitely come into his own in this series. And yes, there have been helpful conditions, but as we've seen, that doesn't mean too much to a spinner in India, because the Indian batsmen play spin so well. So when they play spin that well, it gets to a point where actually you think you've got to really utilize them and be able to control. If you don't have control in these conditions, it doesn't matter how helpful the conditions are. You'll just get destroyed. So it's 13 for 1 off 8 overs. I'll just update the ticker. Pujara 8 off 24, and Rohit Sharma is 5 off 22. So England, I think they need another breakthrough here. They don't want these guys to go on, form a big partnership, and kind of take the game away from them. But yeah, I agree with you, Satak, 100%. Jack Leach, for me, has definitely improved a lot. And yeah, he looks pretty good, I think. And it'll be interesting to see how he does in English conditions, because I don't know whether he has been the best performer for England at home, but it is very difficult, I think, to ball spin. I mean, Moynihan did a very good job for England over a number of years, and I think we can say that he's probably coming towards the end of his Test career. He's 33 years old. To be honest, he could play another 3-4 years, so that's an interesting one. It'll be interesting to see, I think, whether they pick him or Jack Leach, because Moynihan has batting, etc. as well. We'll see. I guess they'll start with Jack Leach probably in the first couple at home and see how he does. And if he doesn't perform that well, then they'll probably have him in the squad, but then they'll go back to Moynihan. I would assume that's what they'll do. So Tark says he reminds you of Vittori with his spectacles. yeah, he does, doesn't he? Not many players have glasses. I still haven't quite gotten used to it. With Vittori, it was one of those things that was very, very. It was a characteristic that completely made you think of Vittori. But with Jack Leach, I didn't quite think of it, even though he wears glasses. It wasn't the first thing that came into my head, but so sometimes when I see him, I'm like, oh. And James Anderson running in here, just bowling a seam up, no swing there, just trying to get a little bit of nibble off the pitch if he can. A bit quicker there as well, and back of a length into Rohit Sharma, 13 for 1 of 8.4 overs. Where's the Charla? Charles said he'd be in the stadium, although he did say in the morning, which might mean the morning in India, which is not the morning here in the UK, clearly. So he might have meant like 4 a.m. in the morning here in the UK, which, yeah, that wouldn't be me. I wasn't up at that time streaming, so otherwise he's come on before, which has been great, because he was watching, I think, the first day of the last Test match, and he was in the stadium. He was in the stadium and he was commenting on here and asking questions, and like I was asking about, oh, what does it look like, the pitch? What do you think? What's the atmosphere like? And yeah, he was interacting, so that was really cool to have someone had my own little informant in the stadium with the child, which is quite cool. It is amazing, actually. Really nice of him to come on as well. and and comment and fire away, which is cool. So Start says Anderson has not gone for a single run until now. I know. I'm ridiculous. I was looking at his fingers just now and I was thinking, is that right? It is right. He's only 5 innings in a row, 1 wicket, just on the ball, James Anderson. And I think India are just happy to see him out because they realise that with the new ball, he's super dangerous. And then really, apart from that, they've got Stokes and the spinners. So they think we can probably cash in with those guys. And Anderson is probably the danger man for the first 15 or so overs. So that's probably what they're thinking right now. Anyway, India are 13 for 1 off 9 overs and minimum of 3 overs left. So I'll try and do this until the end. Let's see. Fingers crossed nothing from work comes up. And if so, then I'll see if I can do this till the end. 3 overs left. I reckon they'll go Leach, probably go Anderson, then Leach. I don't think that we'll see any surprises for the last 3 overs. Then it's just a question of they'll be looking to see if they can pick up a wicket or not. Pujara is 8 of 24 and he's just flicked that one. He just flicked that one around the corner. Pujara, good batting from him. He's a very solid player, Pujara, isn't he, I think? And the glasses are gone. Hey, what's going on? What's going on? The glasses are gone. Jenny, track it. Hello, Jenny. Jenny, thank you very much for joining. Please remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel. The score is 15 for 1 of 9.1 overs. Anderson trapping Shubman Gill, LBW, with a big in-swinger. And Jenny Track, it says, you on Cricket for Us 2.0? Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm good. Me and Ashton are friends from university, and I've been on his channel multiple times. He's been on here multiple times as well. But yeah, I was. Thank you very much for joining. Please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It really does help and really appreciate it. And let me know what you think about the game so far. If you're an England fan, Jenny, let me know what you think about England getting 205. I personally think it's below par, but might be difficult for India potentially if England can pick up a couple of wickets here in the last couple of overs. Shatak says 3 overs to go for stumps. It's all right if you have to go. This match will go to the 4th day. Will it? Are you sure about that, Shatak? Because I think a lot of people thought that about the last Test match, and then it was over in 2 days. So who knows, man? Who knows? Hopefully it does, man. Let's have a look at the Pujara scoring areas. Jenny Trackett says subbed. Yeah, thank you very much, Jenny. So Pujara's scoring areas is spin 31% leg side, 25% down the ground to mid off. So that's his scoring areas normally, which makes sense. Very well played from Rohit Sharma. So he just opens up the face of the bat, goes into almost like a forward defensive position, but just very loose hands. And that's what they say don't have really. You don't want to be gripping the bat so tightly because then it means that you don't have the flexibility in your wrists. So Rohit Sharma here, so if you have a look, he goes into forward defensive motion and then he just lets it, just slightly opens the bat so it can run down and they run 2. That's very, very clever batting from Rohit Sharma. Jenny Trackett says 205 seems about par. Really? Okay, fair enough. I was thinking that more 300 seems about par, to be fair, but let's see. Right, I think it's difficult to judge until both teams have batted on the surface. So who knows? Let's see. I think Leach especially will be very crucial. It'll be interesting to see how much Best does get a bowl. I'm assuming loose. Because I was reading Subtitles comment. Root will get a bowl, as will Dan Lawrence as well, potentially because he can bowl a bit of off spin. Interesting to see Ben Stokes with a new ball, just because they didn't have anyone else. So it's 18 for 1 off 10 overs. And I'll get to the comments in a second. So look, 18 for 1 off 10. I think they're thinking minimum overs 2 overs left, but I'm assuming it will be 2 overs. Jenny says 250 would have been good. Yeah, I think the position that England were in, 250 would have been fantastic. But I think when Stokes was in, you're thinking they can get to 300 if Stokes can just go big. Wasn't quite able to. Dan Lawrence was batted really well until he just played such a rash shot for no reason on 46. And Best is coming on. Best is coming on. So Tark says here, I hope Best bowls great tomorrow. He's bowling today. He's bowling today. We should play bingo. And I'm not even hating. I actually think Best will become a really good spinner. I just think he is too inexperienced now. He's only 23 and he's just a bit one-dimensional and he's way, way, way too wayward. But let's see. Let's see. I could be wrong. He might end up picking up another fifer. Pujara, just bowl a Pujara long hop and Pujara will just smash it straight to or just hit. He'll just hit who is it? Ollie Pope on the shoulder and then loop to mid wicket. Starts off with a half volley, which is punched down the ground, too long on, just a single. Yeah, I don't know. I just think Bess is not. He needs, for me, he needs to be playing for England Lions and really honing his craft and playing in different conditions. It's a no ball for his. Oh, come on, man. So Tuck says no ball. See, this is what I mean. This is poor. How can you bowl a no ball as a spinner? Flipping heck. So Tark says, yes, those loose hands are important against spinners. Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. And so Tark says, yeah, Bess is here. And Usher says, yes, exactly agree, Fazan. I think he's saying about maybe Bess playing for England Lions. And he's got a lot of turn there. But again, it's too short. And if you know you're going to get turn, you don't bowl that straight. And he's bowled super straight. So that's why in the UK he was okay, because he wasn't expected to get wickets. He would just contain it, and to a degree it would work. But also he wouldn't need to bowl many overs. But when you look at the wickets he's got on the tour of not just India but Sri Lanka, I'm not joking. I've never seen someone get so lucky with the type of wickets he got. And you can say, "Oh, wickets are wickets." Yeah, wickets are wickets, but the way you get them is quite interesting. And I guess when you look at the stats, it will show as him having an okay tour. But I mean, some of them were just incredible. Like, especially in Sri Lanka, some of the shots played were just. I just didn't know what they were doing. To be honest, it was almost like they're like, have a free wicket. But Pujara gets a bit fortunate there. Actually, they've got short leg in there. Ollie Pope just drops in front of Ollie Pope. Actually, he's getting big turn. So you can tell from the pitch that the pitch is giving. It's offering a lot for the spinners, and maybe their choice to go with two spinners. You know what? I wouldn't have been surprised if England had gone for one of the reserve spinners as well. Like they went with either Mason Crane or Matt Parkinson or Amir Verdi, one of the three, and added them to Bess and Leach, because the pitch the last two matches has turned a lot. Clearly, the seamers are not being super effective. Why not? And I was saying, maybe you play Woakes instead of Anderson, but that would have been stupid because Anderson's bowled really well with the new ball. So there's been a little bit there for the seamers with the new ball as well. But England have turned to spin pretty early here just because they don't really have the seam options, which is funny because last test match they didn't really have the spin options. But they've kind of put all their eggs in one basket, which is fine. And there you go. There it is. The loose delivery from Dom Bess, at least one and over. That was a long hop that was going down leg side. That really Rohit Sharma should have. I think he was thinking to himself, why have I not just hit that over fine leg for six? He's probably always thinking to himself behind square. Let's have a look. That's good delivery, though. That's good delivery. Just a good length and pops up. And he's getting a lot of bounce here, Bess, as well. So he's trying to put revs on the ball, which is good. That's a good sign. As I said, I just think he's a bit one-dimensional. You're not going to see, look at the difference between someone like Ashwin and Bess. And yeah, I know Ashwin is the best test spinner in the world, but just look at the golf in class is just incredible, absolutely incredible. So Tar says, are there any wrist spinners in England? Yes, there are. That's quite a few. So the two that I mentioned, sorry, even so they are part of the squad, but they're reserve players. So they're touring, but they just are not part. They haven't been picked in the test squads. Matt Parkinson is a leg spinner, plays for Lancashire, and Mason Crane plays for Hampshire. He's a leg spinner. And who else have we got? We've also got Adil Rashid, but he is not available. I think the issue with him is his shoulder. I think if his shoulder was okay, they would have probably picked him for this tour, which wouldn't have been good for someone like Best confidence wise. But I think they've got to be honest with Best, and I think they were when they dropped him from Moeen and just said, "Look, you're not consistent enough." So I think they need to kind of have a hard line with Best and just say, "We think you're going to be a very good spinner," which I think you will be, but maybe it's a bit too early for you to be playing internationally for us. So maybe go and play for England Lions, go and get experience around the world. Really work on your craft, carry on bowling for he bowls for Yorkshire, doesn't he now? So keep on bowling for Yorkshire, and work on your craft, and then you'll come back as a team at some point. That's what they should be saying. So yeah, we've got quite a few wrist spinners to talk, and but there's more as well. But those are kind of the guys who are in and around, either have played for England or play for England in the shorter formats. So yeah, they just haven't picked any of them. And things Mason Crane's played one match against Australia, and then never saw him again. Matt Parkinson hasn't played yet for England, and they've got Amir Verdi, who's off spinner for Surrey, who's the other reserve spinner. Jimmy231 says Root is far more consistent than Best, needs to bowl himself more. Yeah, I think he's bowling himself now, isn't he? What's going on there? Pope having a little chat with Pujara, very interesting. Wonder what they're talking about. Do you think they're discussing what they're going to eat when they go back to the hotel? Like, you know what, I want to have some biryani when I go back. And Pope's like, yeah, I could. He's like, how spicy is the biryani in the hotel? And Rohit Sharma's and Pujara's like, it's pretty spicy. You might have to ask him to make it mild. And he's like, no, I can handle spice. I'm just being silly. As they bring out the helmet. Yeah, Root has been pretty good, to be honest with you. He's been pretty good. I don't know, though. I don't know. He's not. I wouldn't say that he should really be bowling at all. He is pretty consistent, but he kind of reminds you like Kane Williamson. He's someone who you kind of bring on if the conditions are so helpful that you think maybe we should do it. And yeah, Jimmy231 says, don't think Pope will do well with spicy food. Didn't some of the England players get Delhi belly or something? So yeah, maybe. Who knows? I get so surprised. Sometimes, some of my mates as well. I'm like, go to a restaurant. And I'm like, oh, you're gonna be able to handle this, and they're like, yeah, we love spice. So I guess nowadays, especially here in the UK, there's so many different cuisines, so everyone eats everything, and people just they adjust and they're able to handle spice and all sorts. So it's actually funny because some of my Asian friends can't handle spice, and I'm just like, you're right, but it depends on how you grow up as well. But I guess people's stomachs can just take more, which is bizarre. But yeah, here's what it is. I love a spicy biryani. And Jimmy231 says Root is far more consistent. Yeah, I said that before, didn't I? I just think I'm a big fan of Moeen Ali, probably for some biased reasons as well, but just because of what he's done consistently for England over a number of years. And I think he's been shunted up and down the order. I don't really want to go into it too much because I kind of want to do a video on it, really, or a live discussion on it maybe some point when we have a little bit of a break from some cricket, which probably be never, but when we do have some break from some type of cricket, or a couple of days where I think actually it might be a good time to do it, I'll probably put in some time and do some research on it, get a couple of people on to have a little discussion on it, just because, yeah, I think it's an interesting topic. But yeah, but I guess if they're not, it depends. If they're not going to play Moeen Ali, then I think Root does need to bowl himself more. I don't think Best is going to play in the home test matches. When we're honest with you, they'll go with Leach if they're not going to. They'll go with Leach, and if Leach doesn't perform well, then they might go to Moeen Ali. Will they play both? Probably not. Obviously, Moeen Ali played well in that one test that he came back in, but they'll probably think it's a bit harsh to drop Leach because he's played pretty well. He's played well in this series. He's bowled well, Leach, in this series, and also he bowled well in the Sri Lanka series as well. Not great in the Sri Lanka series, but then he kind of learned from that. And then after the first test match as well, he didn't bowl amazingly well, but then he's continually improving, which is what you want to see from your spinner. And his confidence is definitely up as well. It's 24 for 1 of 12 overs, and that is stumps. That is stumps. So India end the day on 22 for 1, 22, 24 for 1 even. 24 for 1, let's have a look. 24 for 1 of 12 overs. Good little spell from England at the start. Good pressure, really good delivery, fantastic delivery from Jimmy Anderson. I mean, he just completely bamboozled Shubman Gill, who's been he's been in pretty terrible form. What do you guys think about Shubman Gill? Do you think he should be? Someone was saying earlier in the chat that he should get dropped, or well, potentially he might get dropped. Obviously, he had a fantastic tour of Australia, came in, but do you think maybe it's a case of now that a really good example that I always use is Jonathan Mendes. No one had seen him, and then as soon as he burst into the scene, he just absolutely racked up the wickets, and then as soon as people had footage on him, they just started looking at him saying, okay, we can pick you. And do you think similar things happen to someone like Shubman Gill? Like they've got footage on him, they know. So I think 3 of his dismissals have been from in-swingers from Jimmy Anderson, where he's either got cleaned up or LBW. And do you think they may be thinking, England have just been able to find his weakness, and he clearly hasn't looked at it. So yeah, what do you think? Because obviously Prithvi Shaw's in the ranks, and you've got a Mayank Agarwal, and someone said potentially KL Rahul, although I think he's probably middle order. I'm assuming they give him one more series, and Star says Stumps. Yep, I'm assuming they give him one more series to see how he does, and maybe if he doesn't perform, then you drop him. But I don't know how well he would do, or Prithvi Shaw in England. I don't know. And so Tart says, I guess Giddis getting chances, Rohit's being mature and not throwing away his wicket. Yeah, I think obviously if both your openers are not performing well, then you look at both, don't you? Or maybe because Rohit Sharma. I think also because India are winning. If India weren't winning, I think Cash said this earlier. If India aren't winning, they're going to be dropping him straight away, like they did with Prithvi Shaw. They weren't winning, so they just said bye bye, which is fine. Like that. They're in a position where they had to be really cutthroat with it. And they had to look more short term. Also, there's a balance between looking to get short term results and also to have a long term opening partnership, because your opening batsman, you can't chop and change depending on the conditions. You normally have an opening partnership that kind of stays the test of time and also can bat in all conditions. So it's not like bowlers and middle order. So I think they'll have to be very careful about that. It's quite a fragile situation, changing up too much. And so Tark says, if both were out of touch, Mike would have come in place of Gill. Yeah. I feel like they think Mike Agarwal is like a safe option to get you a decent like 30, 40. So yeah. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for tuning in. Please do remember to like this video and comment. And like, I think you've already commented it. Thank you for joining. Please remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, which I think most of you have done. And I will speak to you guys later. We'll be doing a review on this around about 4 p.m. UK time. It'll be a live, so please do tune in and give me your thoughts. And yeah, thank you very much, guys. Thank you, Satag. Take care, buddy.